Okay. I got 16 no, not be quick, then could see hey, such not to Justin Trudeau, the outright honorable Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, kina Nioksskaistamik ki kininawa, Chief Ouray, and the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau. No kiksrimachino kaki. I think they're getting it. Okay, Nikshu Kwekzaki. Amako Kaki. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, and Chief Ouray Crowfoot, and the Right Minister Miller. Please welcome them. Anua kistununa kichu sinone annanistapa piwaki ikaisuka piwa kakakhanisa sa kitapik sa Nioksskaistamik natuapi ikaistamikana kama kaitsituma akawas katasi nakaksimua akatsimu kakutumukiwaki kaksimu Clement.
Okay. Genoksgnaden genoeg genaaksematsen opwa. En dan nog goed toe. En nog kreeg ze kooi kaaki niet apomakapi. Ik kan me kapi nog getoutaki. Ik tonjopi pinapucht. Genoeg kreeg ze kooi. Akokseksematsen ma mokit kinina min no. Xachkoot. Gauto maaki. Oke kinakit kinina min no Nioksskaistamik niet toi. Auki nog se koira kohkat semoi, mako suka pissa kenno kannussen. Okei. Aio napi, aio ki pitää kionaka kumkina. Aiki noh katsomat poa noh se koika. Ais pumista ta kennika ki, noh kiitpimmo koika ki atsemuiskana ki. Kohkaika ki matohpa kenika nohanitsi puutuuks pelki. Annikaki, miikoikaki, nohpaapeita pienikaki, tukskässäki. Auki nohksiitsi koikaki, eli manetskaisokaapi. Ei taamikassa koikaki, ja ahkanesta esokaapi, on sitä paakahpennaanik. Auki aamokakina, kanäänä ahkannuksah koikaki. Annomaaki, nohkautumaatumaaki, annomaaki, tapohtsaaki, ksahkoikaki. Aispummuisaa kääkin nohkaaki utaa pohsen. Ahtsokaa piokaakin nohkaaki. Kitskoikaakin niin kuin tää johtsiipika. Aispumista taakin niin kaaki. Ahkea pimska tuumaakin niin kaaki. Nohkanista peipuispiakin nohkritskoika. Ahtaa peitsinikin akaakin maakin. Se johpauhkoikaakin. Annomaakin niin taapatsemmaa pionomaakin. Sitä peitä piispinnaanakin. Naakis kohtakaaki matapiok. Annik manitsokin siitä tuupiakia. Anmaakin noh sitä peitä piispinnaanakin noh kriitsi kuikaakin. Auki naapienikaaki. Äsok peipoja kaakana kuutapiisen, anaksei päitä piakaaki. Auki nok peipoja kana kumpahkenaaki pitääki. Säkyhki taa päitä piakaaki. Annakaaki onnaasenaaki wakaaki, setsemaanak puukkaavakaa tapia. Annakaaki johkuumistu miiksaaki näkees äessäweppumaa piu päätäpiisu. Aaksai tässiipaa kiiteessä ei puuttua. Oukis tahtpikin maa kennäk kanomianis saa piikoon matkpeipojaakaaki. Aakohkutista piitui saaki annohanesta etä piuasoa niitä sitä piuakaaki. Oukennaka piiksioak, anna kaumahkaak. Siitä ammattas kuutuja, siitä ammattaa johtuannaan. Ouki kai soukamanestu mattakstui. Ahkat siitä amit ei kuunikaspinna. Kiitä ammat se tohsa kuin nokusena. Oukenikaa kiinnoh niin poik. Ei taamat se tohsa kuin kaspinna. Saskrimu kuinka. Oukessohki tuu toukamanestu muas. No tuh kanna katsoa, kanna kiitskinaa. Muuttuukiva kannatsumitua, kenna kiittukiva kakkuiksi. Ahkat siitä on mässä paskaa. Oukenne niin taa poukamenestu anohkriitsi kuikaakin. Oukin nuhtaiksemat sieni kaaki. Nuhtse tää puispäät. Hankainen se puuttuukin. Ouki kaamutaan eestä vatsemaan ahsaita piis.
I'd like to take this time to Amtaksapu Amu Sinaksin. The welcome address, and I'd like to welcome Prime Minister Trudeau to Anunitsu Sinone, our land, our Blackfoot lands, and also Chief Ouray Crowfoot. And so we welcome you, and such a beautiful day that's been provided for all of us. And I hope you enjoy yourself today. And this is a historic moment for all our people, and I think it is going to be a memorable occasion that we're going to remember, and then we'll be able to tell our grandchildren. At this time, I'd like to invite Prime Minister Trudeau to do an address to the people here.
Okay, thank you for the welcome. Thank you, Elder, for that prayer and that welcome. Thank you, Chief Crowfoot, and Council for welcoming us here today, Minister Miller and I. Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis très heureux d'être ici aujourd'hui. Thank you so much for welcoming us. We're gathered today to right a wrong from the past, a wrong, as Chief Crowfoot has said before, that should never have happened. And I agree. We're gathered to give ourselves a chance to start rebuilding trust between us, nation to nation. And we're doing it here, at a significant place. It was here, at Blackfoot Treaty Flats, that Treaty 7 was signed in 1877 by the first Chief Crowfoot. When he spoke at the time, the chief said that the Blackfoot people are the children of the plains, and that the plains are your home. He said that he hoped that the government would be charitable to his people. But as we all know, during the 1910 surrender and subsequent actions, the government acted dishonorably, including by taking more than 115,000 acres of your most productive agricultural and mineral-rich lands for the benefits of others. Le gouvernement n'a pas tenu sa promesse dans le cadre du traité. Une promesse qui devait faire en sorte que les deux nations bénéficieraient mutuellement des terres qu'elles partageraient et dont elles seraient les gardiennes. After countless examples like this throughout our complicated but shared history. I understand your mistrust and, quite frankly, your anger. I understand that we still have a lot of work to do on the path of reconciliation. But today, without forgetting about the past, we have an opportunity to look toward the future and how warmly we've been welcomed today, how hard everyone, from chief and council to councils past, have worked towards this day, showed that despite all the mistrust and the very real hurt that was caused over generations and decades, there is still such a strength and such a desire to move forward in a constructive, thoughtful partnership that it's humbling. For over 60 years, with relentless advocacy and leadership, your community has fought to right an egregious wrong and to get the outcome you deserve. I commend your courage, your determination. You never gave up. And now we finally get to officialize this $1.3 billion historical claim settlement, one of the largest of its kind ever concluded in Canada. Aujourd'hui, on peut enfin officialiser ce règlement de revendication historique de 1,3 milliard de dollars, l'un des plus importants du genre jamais conclu au Canada. Did it take too long to get here? Unfortunately, yes, it did. This is yet another example that shows we must continue to change how we do things. Part of this includes re-educating ourselves about the history of this country and how it came to be. This is not just about Blackfoot history. This is Canadian history. Non-Indigenous people need to understand it as well. This is something that is especially important to mention today as we begin National Indigenous History Month. Canada would not be Canada if it weren't for the treaties and alliances our ancestors established to solidify a relationship as equals based on mutual respect and understanding. We must fully acknowledge and recognize that we have a unique constitutional relationship with Indigenous peoples, and we must move forward as partners. Le règlement d'aujourd'hui va permettre de créer des nouvelles possibilités économiques, sociales et culturelles. This settlement will enable you to invest in your priorities, like infrastructure, education, and supports for elders and youth. It will create new economic, social, and cultural opportunities. It will make a real difference in people's lives here in Siksika Nation. For young people who tell their stories through music and filmmaking. For kids who love to skate and play hockey at the new outdoor rink that was just opened this past winter at the Deerfoot Sportsplex. For farmers who are guided by traditional knowledge. For nurses and caregivers on the community health team and at the Elders Lodge who answer the call every day and continue to do incredible work during the pandemic. For all community members, for all the children of the plains, this is an opportunity to reclaim and self-determine your own destiny. This settlement demonstrates our government's commitment to work with you in partnership, to address injustices, and to build a better future together for many generations to come. A future based on nation-to-nation dialogue, partnership, and respect. Thank you. Merci. Nitsiko Tanse Adaki.
Tikutsini Takeaki, Prime Minister Trudeau, thank you very much. I'd like to call on Minister Miller now to come up and
Okia Siksikawa. Nita ni goa Marc Miller. Pinaputsi ni to mo to. Ni tiktak tsitaki ki nohki tsimatsi nuhtso aiki. Ni nuhko to tsini. Annumma siksikai. Ni tiktak matsitaki ammoa na toutsi ki nama jahkomi. Utanipi. Ni tsikko tsitaki ammuksi omkitapiks ki kinnina Nioksskaistamik ki mokko tokskaiksi ki aasitapiksi ki Siksikawa. Ki ammuksi its pomitaks annuka kitsikoi. Ni taapo to maapiwa annik mokkoi nitsiko komo Pinana. Kinitsiko tsitamsi nitskots tosi annumma siksikai. Kininna Nioksskaistamik. Tikeissokko pokopota kimana ki nitskoks tokka nai kitsimokoa. Nitsokka po takjopa annohka siksikawa. Ki annuma kitawa sinohmi tsikoh po kapo takia pinnana. See if I can do better in English. The place we're gathering today, as all you know, has great significance. It's here. The Treaty 7 was signed on September 22, 1877 by Chief Crowfoot. The government of Canada made great promises to your ancestors, but those promises weren't kept. And Canada continued to break that trust and fail every generation that followed. Less than 30 years after Treaty 7 was signed, Siksika had lost half of the land that was set aside by the treaty because of an unfair and unjust deal that was made with the Crown in 1910. A deal that was based on false promises, based on manipulation, and based on misunderstanding. The history is clear and unforgiving. We acknowledge that the Crown's interest behind the surrender was to open up the area to resource development. And since 1910, you've been deprived of half your land base and your fair share of the wealth that came and comes from these lands. We know that this was about more than just the lost material values of the land. Siksika lost access to many sacred sites and practices that were integral to your culture. This is inconceivable and should never have happened. The history is well known to you, but not to many Canadians. It's important that we speak the truth. The disparities that separate Indigenous peoples and non-Indigenous peoples have their roots in exploitative bargains and land surrenders just like these. The 1910 claim, as mentioned by the Prime Minister, was one of the largest ever known in Canada. Adding to this history, your community has waited over 112 years for Canada to address this historic injustice. And today we're celebrating the signing of a $1.3 billion land claim settlement with Siksika Nation and everyone who worked hard to get us here today. We're doing so here in the same place where Isapamahtsika, Chief Crowfoot, and your ancestors stood 145 years ago and signed Treaty 7. This is meaningful. It's the beginning of our renewed relationship, grounded in the sacred and solemn nature of the treaty and the promises that it represented. It will create new opportunities for Siksika to advance your economic development projects for the benefit of your citizens, your people, for this generation and those to come. On a more personal note, I want to take these last moments to recognize the hard-fought and hard-won efforts of the Siksika Chief and Council. It's never lost on me that many of your leadership Many of your leadership are direct descendants of the Blackfoot chiefs and diplomats who paved the way for Treaty 7, such as Chief Crowfoot. And I know that this settlement is a deeply personal matter for you, a profound desire for fairness and justice. For decades, Siksika leadership has advocated tirelessly for the rights of this community. And while the settlement doesn't make up for the past, we hope it will lead to a better and brighter future for this generation and those to come. I want to congratulate the teams. A number of them are going unmentioned, but have worked so hard for this way before people like me got into power.
Thank you, Minister Miller. That was cool. Okay, Nioksskaistamik Nioksskaistamik Kanakkatsiksi, Tesukanikkiniksi Nioksskaistamik. Haksiko mannistavavakkauppaaki. Annakaaki tuotaupiaki, kamissiki swippomapi, haksiko mannistavavakkauppaaki. Hokiken kaaki. Hei, taamikstiku kaakin taakkannistavakaaki nää Nioksskaistamik kaaki makkukaistus kaaki tsipsakkivaaki. Chief Ouray.
Okay, Siksika Nioksskaistamik. I want to thank Elder Leather for the prayer, and also thank you guys for coming out. I want to also thank our Public Works Tribal Manager and Manager Van Lee for all the work and the security. This was short notice, and anybody that's dealt with the Canada, there was a lot of changes, and so the team at our Public Works team as well as our security team, they did a lot of work to make this possible right here. And when we were meeting with Trudeau earlier, I said, it's not about politics today. You're the head chief of Canada. I'm the head chief of Siksika, so I want you to feel comfortable here. It's not about what party you are. That's another day. And it's just as important where we're having this event. Like they just mentioned, 145 years ago, these very grounds, these discussions were being taken place. And so it's only fitting that we have this same discussion and these same ceremony. We had a pipe ceremony earlier. And I do think there is some promise and for the future for Siksika. I also want to thank our older Siksika Nation citizens that have been living through a lot of these changes. They've seen a lot of changes here at Siksika. And ever since 1877 and the reservation system, our way of life has changed. It will never go back. It will never be the same as it was before. And a lot of our older people have seen a lot of those changes. My mom, she passed away 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and she was a fluent Blackfoot speaker, and unfortunately myself, I'm not a fluent Blackfoot speaker, and you know, a lot of that was from the residential school, and a lot of that was from the ideologies of Canada of save the child, kill the Indian, save the child, and those type programs, those racist, systematic racism within Canada did a lot of harm to our people. You know, it caused us to go against each other. We want to badmouth each other. We want to put each other down. A lot of that came from out of these systems of killing our ways of life. But now you're starting to see a tide change. We recently got some of the Crowfoot regalia back, and while we were there, we went to some other museums, and there's all kind of Siksika items all over these. There was a Muktuk geek headdress in one of those, and that's vowed to be come back to Siksika in short time. So all these puzzle pieces that went away from the reserve, these sacred items, these bundles, these headdresses, part of the plan of Canada to kill the Indian, to kill our way of life, well, it just wasn't successful. It was they did a pretty good job, but we're a resilient people. And some of the older people that are in the tent beside of us here, they're some of the strongest people, and they've been through a lot, and we've seen a lot, and you keep hearing it said, but it's true. We're a resilient people here at Siksika. We're overcoming, and now we're not just surviving, we're moving into an era of thriving. I mentioned to the Prime Minister earlier, Canada needs to stop using the word reconciliation. You will never reconcile. You will never make it whole. This land claim, yeah, 1.3 billion, that's a lot of money. You'll never make it whole of what it was before. But we got to move forward. And what the 1.3 can do is provide opportunities we didn't have before. Some of those economic opportunities that were mentioned by the Prime Minister as well as Marc Miller. And I do see the tide turning for Siksika. I see us becoming a thriving nation. Now we have security. We have peace officers down there. We didn't even have that a few years back. And we're working with Marc Miller and the minister and the Prime Minister about getting our policing back. And all those puzzles are coming home. When we had that ceremony over in Exeter, it was when you sing those songs, it was bringing that spirit, bringing those spirits back. And now you hear some of the elders talk about those items trying to come back home. And each one of these items that comes back home, that's a puzzle that's coming to make Siksika whole. Make us back to a whole people. Not that we were ever broken, but those parts that were taken away, those bundles, those sacred items, our way of life is coming back. You go to these Sundance camps, they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. People are starting to learn more and more of our ways. And even though I'm not a fluent Blackfoot speaker, as you look around the reserve now, you see signage going up in Blackfoot. We're working at making Blackfoot our official language. We're working on language initiatives to bring that back. And I want to give credit to Marc Miller. He's done a lot. He's done a lot to help Siksika. He was one of the reasons we led the nation in COVID. The whole 2.5 years, we're still under COVID. If you recall, Siksika was the first we were the first First Nation to vaccinate on the nation. We actually had opened up our vaccination center to 3 surrounding communities. We also had our urban center and a border vaccination. A lot of that was from the efforts in collaboration with our team and the health team and Minister Miller. I do think he is a friend of Siksika. I don't know Trudeau personally, so I can't say as much about Trudeau. But a lot of people don't know. Marc Miller came to Siksika a year ago. No cameras, no Instagram, no Facebook, and he did a sweat with Chief and Council. So I do think, from my understanding of what I've met with Marc Miller, he is a sincere individual, and you heard him, that he's been working with Kent for about 2 weeks now to get his speech, where he could get that. We all got to work towards that. There's a words, even myself, I'm learning more words and more words and more words. I'm understanding when I hear the prayers, I catch this word, catch this word, catch this word. And that's what we got to do is the ones that aren't fluent speakers, just keep practicing. Keep catching those words, keep catching those words. But all these initiatives that we're working on now to bring those languages back. Like I told the Prime Minister earlier, it's not about reconciliation. At this point, it's about moving forward. We're never going to reconcile. You're never going to make it better. You're never going to make it right. Let's just do what we got to do now to go forward. And I think Siksika, we have the foundations in place. We're moving in the right direction. So first and foremost, I want to thank you guys. You guys have been through a lot this last 2 years with COVID, staying away. We've had a lot of loss. We've had a lot of struggles. But there is a bright future for Siksika. And when our ancestors, a lot of people in this crowd and a lot of people on this stage, their ancestors, Tracy McHugh, her great-grandfather was Clarence McHugh. He brought this case forward in 1960. Buck Breaker and Ike Soloway and Sue Soloway. Adam Soloway was part of a team that brought it forward. Each one of these counselors and each one of you that are out in this crowd, you can name an ancestor that pushed this forward. So it's not just us up here. It's all the ones that came before us. And I can feel, that's why it's important to have this event here, because all these ancestors, we give acknowledgement to the ancestors that help push us forward, to help us get the power to strive. We just got to become more and more that resilient people that's in our DNA. It's in our DNA. We survived on these plains for time immemorial. We've always been in this area. And now there's actually an archaeological dig less than a mile away, and they're finding things from tens of thousands of years old. So it's these archaeological digs that are backing up what outside society calls our myths or our legends. Our myths and our legends are being verified by these archaeological evidence that proves that Siksika has been in this area for a long time. And this is not Treaty 7, it's the Blackfoot Treaty that happened to be numbered number 7. This is Blackfoot territory. So I just want to say thank you, and we're going to have some free time for if you want a photo op with the Prime Minister. But you know, we wanted to let him know that today it's not about politics. Today it's about Siksika and Canada moving forward, and moving forward in a good way. And I think we have a lot of initiatives that we're going to work together and bring our policing back. Bring our language programs back. Bring all those things back that Canada took away to try to kill the Indian and save the child. But that's the reconciliation that we need to talk about. That's the bringing the whole, that's the bringing the healings. A lot of our people, everybody in this tent probably went through residential school, and they're still dealing with those things. So it's not one thing, it's all these things. All these things come together. But again, I won't keep it too long. I'm going way off my speech. I didn't even have a speech written. So I want to say thank you. It's been a long time coming. And I want to say thank you for the chiefing councils before us, the technicians before us, the ones that helped on this, the lawyers, even the negotiators. It's been a long trek to get us to where we're at today. And it's not about the money. It's about the opportunities that those monies can bring forth. So thank you, Siksika. This is a historic day. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Crowfoot. Ita pumani wana Nioksskaistamik kaki. Aktusi puyupa kitu sinno naki. When we talk about land acknowledgement, the true land acknowledgement is recognizing our connection to the land and to the spirits of the land and our ancestors. Before I go on to the next item of the agenda, I'd like to introduce, welcome the different representatives of Treaty 7, the leadership, Nioksskaistamik, that came to join us in this historic moment. Say hello to these dignitaries from Treaty 7 chiefing councils as well. And okay, I'm moving on to the agenda. I'd like to invite Prime Minister Trudeau and Chief Ouray Crowfoot to the official signing of the settlement agreement.
Kelsey, do you want to come?
Give them a hand. Han, haka sa papi. Can we have the individuals with the gift exchange? I think we'll have the Prime Minister do the first gift exchange to Chief Crowfoot.
Chief, I would like to gift you this canvas entitled Friendships, which was made by Cree Ojibwe artist Simone McLeod, presented here today to commemorate the Canada-Siksika Nation 1910 Global Settlement Agreement.
I'm gonna present to both yourself and to Minister Miller. Sue, can you help me out here? So when they leave Siksika, this is a Siksika blanket with our Siksika emblem. So give you a cup, give you and Minister Miller each one of these. And then also, I want to give you a beaded Siksika medallion, again with our Siksika logo. And then finally, I'll give you guys both a copy. But this is a replication of the medal that was provided when the Treaty of 1877 was signed, the Blackfoot Treaty, later known as Number 7. So this is a replica of the Blackfoot Treaty, Number 7, provided to Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, Head Chief of Canada, at the same spot that the Blackfoot Treaty was signed all those 145 years ago. So when you take this medal home, remember what this treaty medal meant. Remember what that pipe ceremony meant, and remember our relationship and the photo of friendship as we decide to work forward in the future. So thank you.
Okay na votes. Jako git itse katu pa kamka ki aksin kiks mugsaki. As tuki max. I'd like to invite Elder Herman Yellow Old Woman to come up and explain the significance of the drum and the singing and the song. And the dance.